Welcome, everyone, to this briefing brought to you by the Israel Defense and Security Forum, IDSF. There's, of course, big news in Israel today with a ceasefire between Hamas and Israel and an anticipated return of all of the hostages. To discuss this is Brigadier General Amir Avivi. General, thank you so much for joining today.
My pleasure.
General, let's just jump in. What are your initial reactions to hearing about this new deal?
Well, I think it follows what we said, in the last week, that there is a realization that Hamas lost, that Qatar and Turkey and Egypt, they understand that if they let things continue the way they are, at the end of the day, the IDF will eradicate Hamas completely, and they will have no impact on what will happen the day after in Gaza, or even talking about the regional peace agreements that Qatar wants to be part of now. And therefore, they are willing basically to coerce Hamas to release all the hostages. Releasing all the hostages is basically an unconditional surrender of Hamas. They have zero power without hostages. Israel can much easier impose on them, laying down their weapons, demilitarizing the Gaza Strip. And the fact that we were able to negotiate a deal that doesn't require from Israel anything but to retreat a bit in Gaza and still control more than 50% of the Gaza Strip. Of course, there is the issue of the terrorists that are going to be released, which is bad, but compared to our ability to reach all goals of war and eradicate Hamas in Gaza and demilitarize Gaza and stay forever in Gaza, because the deal enables Israel to stay and control Gaza in the long term, Philadelphia, the perimeter, the northern part. So definitely we are moving towards a decisive win.
Israel, of course, has been trying to bring back the hostages since day one of this war. What do you think happened now to facilitate this deal? Is it because of the IDF actions in Gaza? Is it because of President Trump? Maybe the recent attack against Hamas in Qatar? Why now?
It's a combination. I think that the fact that Israel didn't give up and we managed to conquer 80% of the Gaza Strip, and really build a new reality, creating a reality that Hamas is not controlling Gaza anymore. Even in the areas where Hamas is still present, you had militias fighting them alongside Israel. So it was pretty much game over. Israel created this reality, but of course, President Trump, with his understanding that Hamas cannot exist in Gaza and the need to eradicate Hamas, the fact that he accepts the goals of war of Israel, once Israel reached the point where Hamas is basically on the verge of destruction, this enabled President Trump to move forward, say to Qatar and Turkey, listen, it's done, Hamas lost, let's move to the next stage, and this brought this deal.
I think that many people understand the intimate role that Qatar has, certainly their influence on Hamas. Can you kind of elaborate on Turkey? Turkey seems to be getting a lot out of this deal. What exactly is their role, and is the price a bit high in terms of what Turkey is receiving?
So, Turkey's vision is to bring back the Ottoman Empire, to really be a force that has a huge impact on the Middle East. And they lost this position. Once, we didn't let them be key players and they distanced themselves from Israel and everything that's happening. They saw how Saudi Arabia and Emirates are becoming the leading force. They saw this upcoming alliance between the West, Israel, and the moderate Sunni world, and understood that they are not part of this, and they cannot afford not being part of this. And once they see that with Hamas it's not going anywhere, they rather, take out Hamas, put them somewhere else, maybe rebuild them somewhere else, but be part of the regional global vision of President Trump and not be left aside. This is a big danger for them.
And in terms of Israel releasing terrorists, what are your thoughts on that? Where are these terrorists going to go? Is Israel going to be able to track them and make sure they don't engage in future terrorist activity in Israel?
So I think that one thing that we can see also in Lebanon, and Israel has said that we'll have overriding security responsibility and we'll stay proactive all over the Middle East, is that these terrorists, if they go back to the ways of terror, they will be, attacked, targeted. Any Hamas or Islamic Jihad or any terrorist that will try to continue terror activities will be attacked. It's not a reality where Israel releases hostages and that's it. They are safe and they can do whatever they want. If they try to attack Israel, Israel will target them before and take care of them.
So are we right now looking at the end of the war in Gaza? What happens after this first phase?
So after the first phase, we go to the second phase. The second phase is Hamas handing their weapons, laying them down, demilitarizing the Gaza Strip. And the Prime Minister said it very clearly. Is it either going to be the nice way or the hard way? The nice way is them realizing it's over, laying down the weapons and getting out of Gaza. The hard way is the IDF going in and doing it. And once we don't have hostages in Gaza, this is going to be a much, much, much easier job than what we experienced until now. One of the reasons it took us so long to deal with Gaza is the hostages and the complexity of operating and not risking their lives. Once the hostages are home, there is full freedom of operation for the IDF to impose this deal on Hamas.
And realistically, do you see us getting to the second stage? Meaning once Hamas has released the terrorists, once all of these countries have received what they wanted to receive, is there any more leverage they have?
So we have to remember that we are controlling, at the end of this deal, more than 50% of the Gaza Strip. So it's very easy for Israel to immediately move again forward, control 75, 80%, and impose on them demilitarization, because if not, they will remain in a narrow area on the sea in tents, and this is the Gazan society will not agree to that. They will retaliate against Hamas. So at this point that Hamas already is giving up the hostages is a message, that the Gazans also want the war over. They would like to see Israel retreating more to the perimeter. They would want to go home, and it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen without demilitarization of the Gaza Strip and without Hamas getting out of Gaza.
Now, General, you're viewing this as a victory, and certainly on many levels it is, because we're getting back the hostages and Hamas is being destroyed. But we've seen in previous rounds when Hamas has returned hostages, they turn it into like a party. They kind of twist it that it's their victory. Do you think that will happen again right now, and that the history books of Hamas, so to speak, will read that they have won this war?
So I think that, even in the Yom Kippur War, when we were 100 kilometers of Cairo, Egypt said they won. Cannot control their lies. And this is, by the way, why they never get better, because they always lie not only to everybody, but also to themselves, so they cannot improve. This is good news for us. It's good that they lie to themselves. We usually take responsibility, and then we want to do better. We want to change things, and they never admit failures, and they cannot learn from them. What matters to us is not what Hamas says, what is the reality. If we reach the goals of war, if we get all the hostages, demilitarize Gaza, if we have overriding security responsibility over the Gaza Strip, if we are able to build, as the plan says, some technocratic self-governance managed by the US and Tony Blair. So I think that will, reach what we wanted to reach. And at the end of the day, there is only one big test, the security of the people of Israel. If we are able to secure Israel, this is what counts at the end of the day.
Many, many, many months ago, years ago, when the war broke out, you noted the connection between the imminent peace with Saudi Arabia and Iran's interest in breaking that. What is the role right now in this ceasefire of Saudi Arabia? We're hearing a lot about, of course, Qatar, Egypt, and Turkey, not much about the Saudis. What is the status there?
So I don't think that the Saudis have leverage over Hamas, but the Saudis are the leaders of the moderate Sunni world, and they are a key player in expanding the Abraham Accords and really signing agreements with countries like Indonesia, possibly Pakistan, maybe Lebanon. There is a prospect for a big peace agreement after this war. President Trump is orchestrating that. Israel has been for a long time part of this vision. And now that Israel is a strong power in the region, this can become a reality. And we're looking forward, I think, to a very exciting period of time where we'll reach, victory in Gaza and we'll move towards signing peace agreements.
And right now, the feeling across Israel seems to be one of unity, which is not a place that we were in 2 years ago when the war broke out. Do you think that unity will last once the hostages come home and you have this whole hostage movement kind of coming to an end? Will there be continued unity?
I think that overall, the Israeli people are much more united. You always have voices, who try to divide and different things that we have argument about, and it's okay. We are not supposed to agree on everything, but bringing back the hostage, this is a very, very big deal on the way of Israel to heal, from this very, very difficult war.
General, I want to share with you a comment that I've received from many of our wonderful viewers and supporters. Here in Israel, there seems to be a lot of support for this deal. The hostages are coming home, but obviously it's very complex, and people around the world view this as a concession that Israel, rather than achieving victory, is bowing to Hamas and making these concessions, and it's not good for Israel in the long term to return terrorists, even if it means getting our hostages back. How would you respond to that sentiment?
I think that life is complicated. And, at the end of the day, you have to decide if you want a deal, what's the most important thing for you. And I think that the most important thing is reaching the goals of war, is making sure that Gaza will never be a threat again to Israel. We can deal with these terrorists, we can eliminate them later. But the fact that we managed to get a deal that enables Israel to reach all goals of war, this is the big victory. And this deal, not only that, is connected to peace agreements that will extend all the way to Indonesia. I mean, a week ago, we felt like we were isolated. Everybody is against us. Prime Minister Netanyahu spoke in the UN and everybody left the room. And suddenly, we're the center of the normalization with Israel, a huge event. And suddenly the whole world, including the Arab world, supports Israel reaching the goals of war. So when you look strategically at the overall picture, it's obvious that we're moving towards a decisive win and a great future. Yes, there are some prices, but we'll make sure that we minimize them and we deal with these issues later on.
General, thank you so much for taking from your very busy schedule today and certainly on Sukkot to share all of this with us. Keep us updated.
Thank you very much, Moshe.
Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. We will be back with you next week. Again, stay tuned for our future briefings. Sign up to our email newsletter so that you can find out the most up-to-date schedule. Things are a little bit different now because of the holiday. Until next time, stay safe, stay strong. Take care, everyone.